Chef Danie, and welcome to Chef Danie Cooks. Today we're going to stuff these beautiful Pattypan squash that I got from my friend Terry at the Fresh Market. We're going to stuff them with a risotto, and we're going to serve them with a Mediterranean lentil soup. So come right back.
This is Capone's Italian restaurant. Yeah, Capone's. An unforgettable name for some unforgettable meals. The best Italian food on the coast, you better believe it. Listen, when you call and get a reservation, order Big Al's spaghetti and meatballs, or maybe Capone's pesto shrimp with their in-house pesto sauce. Try their unforgettable chicken spinaci, fettuccine, Capone's signature lasagna and manicotti. They're to die for. Here's the number. That's the reserve the special chef's table. Sit down or guaranteed seating. Everything's fresh and homemade. And with a name like Capone's, it had better be good, and it is.
Money can't buy happiness, but you can buy cupcakes, right? Which is pretty much the same thing, isn't it? Cheeky Monkey Cake Company, 3516 Sangoni Boulevard in D'Iberville, bakes everything fresh and on-site daily. Grab-and-go selection, which includes cookies, brownies, breakfast pastries, mini and ready-to-go cakes, and petty falls, which is my favorite. Cheeky Monkey also provides special order cakes from elegant to whimsical. Cheeky Monkey Cakes are as original as you. Visit our website at www.cheekymonkeykakes.com.
You know if anybody can take care of our windows here at the office?
Yeah, try Amanda's Window Washing. They've been cleaning mine for over a year and they do a great job. Check it out on the internet, www.amandaswindowwashing.com.
Amanda's Window Washing. Commercial and residential windows, power washing, walkways, driveways, and gutters. Call us today for your free estimate. 228-223-4691. Or visit us online at amandaswindowwashing.com.
Oh, those windows look nice. Welcome back. We're stuffing these beautiful Pattypan squash today, and I've already separated this one into two, but I want to show you how to do this one. Now, these came from the Fresh Market. My friend Terry has a beautiful farm where she grows all her produce and sells at the local Fresh Market. You can usually find lots of these certain times of the year, and everybody wonders, what do you do with them? Well, they kind of have the same flavor as like a zucchini or a summer squash. They're not sweet. They have the same flavor as those two. So I thought they'd be really neat to stuff with some risotto. And we're going to serve that with a soup on the side for a great meal. And we just have two Pattypan squash, but by the time we get done, it's going to be a meal for 4 people. So it's very economical as well. These are kind of tricky though, because we want to cut them in half. We want to kind of make a little bowl out of these after we bake them. And they're a little bit hard to cut in half, but this one has a stem, so I'm going to cut the stem off of it. And you need to be really careful, and you need to have a really sharp knife, because you're going to try to get in here in the edge and just hold your hand on the top and push down, just like that. Now we need to roast these off because it is a squash. It's a little bit harder in texture, so we need to put them in the oven to roast them off so we can scoop them out and make our little bowl. And there's a simple way to do that. We're going to put a little olive oil, just a little bit, and spread it around this. I've got just a regular glass container. You could use a flat baking sheet to put these on. We're just really trying to put them in something to roast them. We're going to put them in the container. Now, all we want to put on here right now is salt and pepper and a little bit of olive oil, because we're going to roast them and we'll do all our seasoning in the risotto. So a little bit of salt and a little bit of black pepper. We always use fresh pepper in a pepper mill too. The flavor is a lot different than the pepper that you buy that's already ground. And I'm going to put a little bit of extra virgin olive oil over the top. It's just going to cook down into it. These are going to take about 15-20 minutes in the oven. All right, I'm going to put those in here. While that's in the oven baking, we're going to go ahead and get started on our soup. Now we're making a lentil soup, so it's going to take a few minutes for that because the lentils have to cook. I've got a regular soup pot here. We're going to get it started in the bottom with some garlic and onions to start flavoring, a little bit of olive oil. I'll turn that down just a little bit, and we're going to get some garlic and onion. And we're we're going to put the garlic and onion into our soup to get our soup base started. Now, just about everything we cook starts out with garlic and onion, except for maybe the desserts. But this is an easy soup that you can make at home. It's quick because lentils cook fairly quickly, and it's a great soup for people who are maybe trying to be vegetarian. But we are going to put bacon in ours, and so this one's not going to be a vegetarian version, but you could leave the bacon out if you wanted to do a vegetarian version. This one has spinach and a secret ingredient that I put in there that makes the soup really good, which is some lemon slices. You would think you wouldn't put lemon in a soup, but it gives it this really good flavor when the soup is completed. So I think you'll like it. We're going to coarse chop the garlic, get that in there with our olive oil. I've got a half of an onion here. I'm going to put that in as well. Later we might add a little bit more onion because we want to have some chunks of onion in our soup, but this is going to cook down to make the base. That in there. Now next comes the bacon. And I have some thick cut bacon here. You want to look for bacon that has fat on it but also has meat on it. If you notice some of the bacon at the store is more fat than meat, and it's going to cook all the way, you're not going to have any meat left. So you want to look for some thick cut bacon. You also want to make sure it has a good edge of meat on it, and you can see this has about half and half fat and half meat. Now the fat we need for our pan, so we're going to go ahead and get that in there. And the best way that I find to do that is with some kitchen shears. We're going to cut the bacon in half, and then we're just going to cut pieces into the pan. And this is 2 pieces of bacon, but again, I said it's a thick sliced bacon. So it's going to be plenty of bacon to get our soup started. It's going to flavor the broth that we're going to put in there, along with the onions and the garlic. We're going to save this bacon for our risotto that we're going to make in just a little while. I'm going to get that moving around. It's not really important that we crisp up the bacon because we're making a soup, so it's not going to be crisp in there. But you want the bacon to render some of its fat down so that when you add everything to the pot, then that's going to flavor that broth. We're going to let that sit for just a minute. I'm going to go ahead and get my lentils in there. Now you can find lentils at just about any store. They have different varieties. They cook really fast and they make a great hearty soup. We're going to put those in there while the pan's still dry because we want to slightly toast them. All right, now we're ready to add our broth. Now I use a store-bought broth. You can make broth at home if you'd like, but it's easier to run to the store and pick up a broth, and they have a lot of good varieties out there right now. You want to check the ingredients. You want to make sure there's no MSG. You want to make sure that the ingredient list you can read, you recognize everything that's in there. It shouldn't have something that you can't pronounce. We're going to go ahead and put that in. Now the lentils are going to soak up some of the broth. I'm going to do 1 can for now. We're going to save the other one just in case because we need to see, once the lentils have started to cook down, how much broth they're going to use. And we may need to add a little bit more in the end. We're also going to wait to add our spinach, but we're not going to wait to add the secret ingredient, and that's the lemon. All we need is just a few slices. We're going to float that on the top. That's going to flavor that sauce, and it's going to be delicious. Take the seeds out and float that right in the pot. Now I'm going to move this pot over, and we're going to go ahead and get started on our risotto. I'm going to get the pan warmed up and get my olive oil in there, and when we come back, I'm going to show you how to build a great risotto.
You know of anybody who can take care of our windows here at the office?
Yeah, try Amanda's Window Washing. They've been cleaning mine for over a year and they do a great job. Check it out on the internet, www.amandaswindowwashing.com.
Amanda's Window Washing. Commercial and residential windows, power washing, walkways, driveways, and gutters. Call us today for your free estimate. 228-223-4691 or visit us online at amandaswindowwashing.com.
Oh, those windows look nice.
Money can't buy happiness, but you can buy cupcakes, right? Which is pretty much the same thing, isn't it? Cheeky Monkey Cake Company, 3516 Sangoni Boulevard in D'Iberville, bakes everything fresh and on-site daily. Grab-and-go selection, which includes cookies, brownies, breakfast pastries, mini and ready-to-go cakes, and petty falls, which is my favorite. Cheeky Monkey also provides special order cakes from elegant to whimsical. Cheeky Monkey Cakes are as original as you. Visit our website at www.cheekymonkeycakes.com.
This is Capone's Italian Restaurant. Yeah, Capone's. An unforgettable name for some unforgettable meals. The best Italian food on the coast, you better believe it. Listen, when you call and get a reservation, order Big Al's spaghetti and meatballs, or maybe Capone's pesto shrimp with their in-house pesto sauce. Try their unforgettable chicken spinaci, fettuccine, Capone's signature lasagna, and manicotti. They're to die for. Here's the number. That's the reserve the special chef's table. Sit down or guaranteed seating. Everything's fresh and homemade. And with a name like Capone's, it had better be good, and it is.
Welcome back. While we were on the break, I went ahead and got 2 pieces of bacon sliced up into our pan to let that render down. I'm getting some garlic ready to go in the pan. I also pulled out our Pattypan squash. They came out of the oven, and I added 2 more cups of chicken broth to the soup because it had cooked down enough where we were ready for 2 more cups. So we're going to get this garlic in the pan to make the risotto. Now, risotto is so versatile. You can do it sweet, you can do it savory, you can use it for so many different dishes. But I thought it'd be really delicious to stuff these little Pattypan squash with. So we put some bacon in there for some flavor. We're going to put some garlic and onion, and then I'll show you how to get the risotto started. Risotto from start to finish should take about 20 minutes, but it's 20 minutes of time with you standing right there with the risotto. You can't walk away and let it cook like a regular rice. You have to stand there and watch it, because if you don't, it'll stick to the bottom and it doesn't come out right. You have to continuously stir the risotto. We're going to put about half of this onion into the risotto, and we're going to save the other half to go in our soup when we add the spinach. I'm just going to do that into some slices. This is basically going to fall apart in the risotto. There we go. Move that around. Now, risotto is made with arborio rice, and arborio rice is kind of a short, fat rice. It's a very starchy rice, and you can find this at most local grocery stores. It comes in a packet that has about 2 cups in it, which is what we're using today, and we're going to go ahead and add that to the pan with the onions and the bacon. You need to toast up the arborio just for a second. You don't want to burn it, but you're going to get a little bit of toastiness to it, and you'll see that the arborio will start to get a little shiny and almost translucent. And when it gets to that point, that's when we're ready to add the broth. So while we're waiting on that, we're going to get started on our roasted red bell pepper. Now I'm going to show you an easy way to roast the bell pepper at home. When you roast it, it brings out all these sweet flavors of the bell pepper, and it's super easy to do, especially if you have a gas range. We're going to hold the bell pepper with some long tongs. You want to give yourself as much room as possible, and over the regular flame on your stove, you're just going to char the outside edge of the bell pepper. Now be careful not to overheat the tongs, and be careful also not to burn your hand sticking it in the fire. We're going to roast this off, and it needs to be on a high heat. It takes just a few minutes to do that. You want the edge to actually char. Welcome back. I'm Chef Danie, and today we're stuffing Pattypan squash with risotto, and we're serving that with a Mediterranean-style lentil soup. But we've just finished roasting our pepper, and I know to a lot of people it looks like we burnt the pepper, but trust me, it gives it such a great flavor. We're going to take all that black off, but I'm going to show you a little secret tip. We're going to pop a piece of garlic, and we're going to tuck that inside the pepper. I cut the end off the pepper, and now we're going to take the pepper and put it in some foil and wrap it up. We basically want it to steam for just a few minutes so that we can peel all that black off, and then we can slice it and put it into our risotto. Now, as you can see, the risotto has toasted up. It's ready for us to start adding broth. So we're going to start adding about 1.5 cups at a time. Now, a lot of people think that you need to keep the broth warm to add to the risotto, and it does speed up the cooking time a little bit, but I always use it. This was at room temperature because it's usually in the pantry. If you have one in the refrigerator, you may want to let it come to room temperature, but you can use it straight from the box and you'll be fine. We're going to move that around just a little bit. Every time you add the broth, then you need to let the broth cook out, and then we're going to add it again, and every time we're stirring. Now, I have some mushrooms here that are little baby portobello mushrooms, and these are called creminis. We're going to add those to our risotto as well, and I have some already sliced. We're just going to add those in because they're going to break down. They're going to absorb some of the liquid as well. All right, while we're waiting for this to cook down, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get our squash, put it right over here. We're going to scoop out the center, and we're trying to make a little bowl because we're going to stuff it, but we want to use this center also because all of this is good to eat. So we want to get this out. We're going to put that to the side, and you can see they're nice and soft from being in the oven. You want to leave a spot to fill, and then you want to have a spot where it can kind of come up over the edge. Put that back in the pan, and we're going to do all of them like that. It's just like butter coming out of there. And be careful not to break through the bottom because all of your stuff will fall out if we do that. So we want to leave that there. And like I said, this is going to be dinner for 4 because you could serve one of these and you can serve a bowl of soup on the side, and that'll make a filling meal. All right, we've got those done. Our risotto has cooked out the first broth that we put in there. So now we're going to add another 1.5 cups. It takes a good bit of broth to make a risotto, so you want to make sure you have plenty on hand. You don't want to run out of broth. You can start a risotto with a little bit of white wine for the first go around if you'd like, but you can't do the whole risotto with white wine. You can use any kind of broth, chicken broth, veggie broth, beef broth, depending on what you're putting in there and what kind of risotto you're trying to make. We went with the chicken today because it's a lighter flavor, and we've got the bacon in there, and all those flavors are going to mix well together. Now I'm going to continue to make the risotto, and when we come back, we're going to stuff the patty pans and get them in the oven. Welcome back. I'm dicing up the last piece of the onion to put into our soup. I'm going to toss that into the soup pan. Now our risotto has cooked down. You can see it's thickened up. It's ready for us to stuff, but we need to add one more ingredient to the risotto, and that is going to be our roasted red pepper. We're going to get the red pepper and open it up. I'm going to show you the black part. From it being in the aluminum foil, the black part just peels right off. You can do the same trick with a paper bag. We want to peel the charred part off, but what happened was the pepper got roasted and it's soft and it's going to be sweet flavored and it'll be beautiful inside of our risotto. Pull all that off. Move this over here. Now we're just going to slice it. You see how soft it is now? And the smell is just amazing. Slice this into strips, and then I'm going to cut it one more time. Because we're going to stuff the patty pans, I'm going to cut it into small pieces. We're going to add this to our risotto. That's a beautiful, easy way to do a roasted red bell pepper. Mix that in, and that gave us a little red color. Now I'm going to get the Pattypan squash, and we're going to stuff them. Move this over to the cutting board, and we're going to use the same pan. We're going to go back in the oven with the same pan. We're going to put a little bit of risotto right on top, and the risotto's hot, so be careful. Let me get a different spoon. There we go. We don't want to overflow them. You just want it sitting on the top. And basically, they're going to eat the whole thing except for the very bottom where the skin was. We're going to top this off with a little bit of mozzarella and Asiago cheese. There we go. All right, move this over. Now I have some Asiago right here. We're going to grate onto the top. Now everything is basically already cooked. So what we're doing now is we're just basically going to melt the cheese over the top of the dish. So it's only going to take a couple of minutes in the oven, and it's going to be beautiful when we get them out. You could do this same stuffing with a portobello mushroom as well. And save your leftover risotto, because then you can make rice balls, or you can reheat it and make risotto for another meal. We're going in the oven with this. I have the oven on 450, so we can toast the top. And I'm going to get my mitts because we're going to come over to this other burner with the soup. Now we added the onions. In the last minute we want to add the onions because we want some texture going on there. And then now we're going to add the spinach. Remember I told you want to add the spinach at the very end because the spinach, when you put it in this hot soup, is just going to wilt down. So we're going to add that in there. Just like that. Stir it around. This is one of my favorite soups. It really is. It's a hearty soup for a cold day. It's a good soup for any time of the year. All right, this is ready to be ladled up. I like to serve it in a rather large bowl so it can spread out and kind of cool down a little so it doesn't burn you. And we're going to get a big ladle of the lentil soup. And look how nice that is. You want to make sure you get some broth in there. Now the lemon is in there, but the lemon has cooked down. And we're also going to top this with just a little bit of the Asiago cheese. And there we go. That's our lentil soup, and I think it's time to get our Pattypans out of the oven as well. Our Pattypan squash are out, and they're beautiful. You can see we just toasted the cheese on the top. We weren't really trying to cook them anymore. They're already done. I'm going to get a nice plate, and we're going to try to put these one at a time on the plate. Just like that, because when you bring it to the table, we like to serve family style, and you want it to be nice and appealing. You want everybody to say, oh, that looks beautiful, and then they want to try it. So we got to make it look good when we bring it to the table. You should take the time to make things look good when you're bringing them to the table for your family and for guests. It should always take a little bit of time for that. We're going to top it with a little bit of parsley, just in the center. And that is our stuffed Pattypan squash. And I want to thank you for joining us today here at Magnolia Hall in Florence Gardens. And I hope you join us again next time where we're going to make another great Italian meal. Until then, ciao bella.